You know there's a power in silence. Not the silence of weakness, not the silence of fear. No. I'm talking about the silence that speaks louder than words. The silence that lets your actions scream when your lips are still. The silence that allows life to unfold in its own timing, without you forcing it, without you chasing it. See, too many of us want to rush. We want answers today, results tomorrow, success overnight. But life doesn't work on our watch. It works on its own. And when you stay silent, when you stop begging for approval, stop arguing with doubters, stop trying to explain yourself to people who will never understand, you allow the natural rhythm of life to
do its work. Silence is discipline. Silence is strength. Anybody can talk. Anybody can argue. Anybody can clap back when they feel attacked.
But not everybody can hold their peace and trust the process. That's where the growth happens. That's where wisdom comes. Understand this. The seed doesn't scream in the soil. The seed doesn't shout, "Look at me, I'm growing." And no, it stays hidden, quiet, still, while the roots dig deep, while the foundation is built. And then, when the time is right, when nature says it's time, that seed breaks through the dirt and rises. That's you, that's your journey. Stay silent and everything will come naturally. Don't mistake silence for inaction. Silence is preparation. Silence is focus. Silence is you keeping your mouth closed while your hands are busy working. While others are busy talking about dreams, you're building yours. While others are busy gossiping, you're planting seeds. And when the fruit comes, oh, they'll see it. You won't have to say a word. People will doubt you, let them. People will misjudge you, let them. People will try to pull you into arguments, drama, negativity, don't fall for it. Don't give them your energy, hold your peace, because in the end, truth doesn't need defending. Success doesn't need an explanation. Greatness doesn't need a speech. It shows up, undeniable, unshakable, undeniable. So my message to you is simple. Stay silent. Stay disciplined. Stay grounded. Trust the timing of your life. When you stop forcing doors open, the right ones will swing wide. When you stop demanding recognition, your results will demand it for you. When you stop chasing, what is meant for you will find you. Stay silent and watch how everything falls into place. Silence has often been misunderstood as a sign of weakness, as if keeping your mouth shut means you have nothing to say or no courage to stand up for yourself. But true silence, the kind that comes from inner strength and discipline, is one of the most powerful tools a person can carry. It is easy to react when someone challenges you, when someone disrespects you, or when someone doubts your ability. It is easy to let anger or pride push words out of your mouth in an attempt to defend yourself. But silence requires control, and control is not weakness. Control is strength. When you choose silence in the right moments, you're showing mastery over yourself. And that is far more powerful than trying to master someone else with words. Think about it. Anyone can argue. Anyone can raise their voice. Anyone can fight back with insults and comebacks. That doesn't take skill, that takes impulse. But the person who can remain silent, who can keep calm while the world tries to provoke them, demonstrates strength on a different level. They show that they are not ruled by emotion, but by discipline. They know that every word spoken has power, and sometimes the greatest power is in not saying anything at all. Silence shows you have nothing to prove to people who will never understand your vision, your worth, or your journey. You don't waste your time defending yourself when your future will defend you for you. Silence also allows you to listen more, and listening is where wisdom grows. When you stop speaking, you give yourself space to observe, to understand, and to learn. Silence sharpens your awareness. It lets you catch details others miss because they are too busy talking. The strongest people don't need to announce every plan, every move, every intention. They don't need to broadcast what they're doing to feel validated. They work in silence and their results make the noise. That's real strength. Consider how silence can shift a situation. When someone expects you to argue and you don't, you take away their power. When someone insults you and you don't respond, you keep your dignity. When life puts pressure on you, and you choose patience instead of panic, you're building resilience. Silence is not weakness. It is confidence in disguise. It says, I know who I am, and I don't need to explain it to anyone. True power doesn't shout. It doesn't scream. It doesn't beg to be noticed.
True power stands still, calm, and steady. It knows that storms come and go, but the mountain remains. That's what silence is, the mountain, solid, grounded, unshaken. People may misunderstand it, they may think you're too quiet, too passive, too soft.
But in reality, silence is a shield. It guards your energy, it protects your focus, it saves your words for when they truly matter.
That is strength, not weakness, because the strongest warriors are not the ones who talk the loudest, but the ones who move with precision when the time is right. Life has its own rhythm, its own pace, its own schedule that none of us can rewrite no matter how much we try. We live in a world where everyone wants things fast. Fast food, fast money, fast success. The culture of instant gratification makes us believe that if something doesn't happen right away, it's not worth waiting for. But the truth is, the most valuable things in life don't come instantly. They come in their own time. When you learn to be silent and let life unfold naturally, you start to see that every delay, every setback, every moment of waiting is not wasted time. It is preparation.
The universe, God, whatever name you give to that higher order, knows when you're ready.
And when you're not ready, no amount of forcing, no amount of rushing, no amount of pushing will bring the right outcome.
Think about how nature works. The sun rises when it's supposed to. Seasons change in their own time. The flower blooms when it's ready, not when you demand it. You can't rush spring, and you can't force winter to end early.
The same principle applies to your life. When you try to force things to happen, you end up frustrated, drained, and often with results that don't last.
But when you trust the process, when you trust the timing, life has a way of aligning opportunities, people, and blessings exactly when you need them.
Silence teaches you that patience isn't passive. It's active faith. It's believing that what is meant for you is on its way, even if you can't see it yet. Every person who has achieved greatness has gone through seasons of waiting. Athletes spend years training in silence before the world ever knows their name. Artists paint countless canvases in obscurity before one piece is celebrated. Entrepreneurs fail again and again, quietly learning and adjusting before their vision takes off.
None of them succeeded because they forced life to move faster. They succeeded because they respected the process and allowed the natural timing to reveal itself.
Life will open the right doors when you are prepared to walk through them, not when you demand them to open.
The problem is we don't like silence, we don't like waiting. We feel like we have to make noise to be noticed. We have to push harder to make things happen.
But sometimes silence is the greatest move you can make. Silence allows you to step back, to breathe, to gather strength while the world is spinning fast around you.
Silence tells life, I trust you. I trust that what belongs to me won't miss me, and what's not for me will pass me by. That kind of trust is rare, but it is powerful.
When you stop trying to control everything, when you stop chasing what is not yet yours, you begin to feel a peace that others don't understand.
You stop being restless. You stop being desperate, and you start being ready. And when you're ready, life has a way of putting everything in order. It may not happen when you want it. It may not happen how you planned it. But it will always happen right on time. Silence is not just about keeping your mouth shut. It's about protecting your energy. Every time you argue with someone who is committed to misunderstanding you, you lose energy. Every time you try to prove yourself to someone who has already decided not to believe in you, you waste energy. Every time you step into drama that has nothing to do with your growth, you drain the energy you could have used to build, to create, to move forward. Protecting your energy means understanding that not every battle deserves your attention, and not every opinion deserves your response. Silence is a boundary. It is your way of saying, I will not hand over my peace to things that don't grow me. People will always have something to say. Some will criticize you because they don't understand you. Some will judge you because they envy you. and some will provoke you just to pull you down to their level. If you respond to every voice, if you try to fight every attack, you will spend your life in a battlefield where the war never ends. But if you stay silent, if you choose your battles wisely, you rise above the noise. You conserve the most valuable resource you have, your focus. Focus is what turns dreams into reality, and focus is destroyed when you let distractions pull you into meaningless conflicts. Think about fire. Fire can burn brightly and give warmth, but if you scatter it everywhere, it dies out. Your energy is the same. When you spread it thin by entertaining every distraction, you weaken your own flame. But when you guard it, when you protect it, it grows stronger and brighter. Silence is how you protect that flame. It is not surrender, it is strategy. You are not ignoring the noise because you are weak. You are ignoring it because your purpose is bigger than the noise. You are too focused on building something lasting to waste time on things that will be forgotten tomorrow. When you learn to protect your energy, you also learn to protect your mental space. Silence keeps you from absorbing negativity that others try to project onto you. When someone speaks doubt over you, silence is your shield. When someone throws insult after insult, silence is your armor. When someone tries to drag you into their chaos, silence is your refusal to play their game. You are not required to explain yourself. You are not required to convince anyone. And you are not required to respond to everything thrown your way. Protecting your energy means you keep your mind and spirit clean, so you can focus on the things that truly matter. Every successful person has had to learn this lesson. They stopped trying to argue with critics. They stopped chasing approval. They stopped wasting their words on people who had no intention of listening. Instead, they let their results speak. And that's the ultimate protection of energy, when you realize that silence is not emptiness but preservation. It is the act of saving your power for the moments that count, the actions that matter, and the victories that will speak louder than anything you could have ever said. A seed holds one of the greatest lessons about silence and growth. When you place a seed in the soil, it doesn't make noise. It doesn't cry out for attention. It doesn't announce to the world what's happening. It stays hidden in the dark, silent and unseen, while something powerful takes place beneath the surface. Roots begin to spread, strength begins to form, and a foundation is created that no one can see. That process cannot be rushed, it cannot be forced, and it cannot be skipped. Growth requires silence, patience, and time. The seed doesn't question when it will break through the soil. It trusts the design, it trusts the process. It trusts that when the moment is right, it will rise. This is the same truth for every person pursuing something meaningful. In your silent seasons, when it feels like nothing is happening, everything is happening. The world may not see it, but deep inside you, roots are forming. You're gaining resilience, learning lessons, building character, and preparing yourself for the weight of success. Too often people want the spotlight before they've developed the roots to sustain it. They want the recognition before they've endured the preparation. But without roots, any tree will fall at the first strong wind. That's why silence is necessary. It's in that silence that your roots grow deep enough to hold you steady when the storms of life come. The seed also teaches humility. Nobody applauds the roots. Nobody celebrates the hidden work beneath the ground. The beauty of the tree, the flowers, the fruits, those get the attention. But the unseen work is what makes the visible growth possible. Your life will be the same way. People will eventually see your success, your achievements, your breakthroughs. But they won't see the silent nights, the private struggles, the hours of unseen effort that built the foundation. And that's okay, because greatness doesn't need to be validated by applause. It needs to be grounded by discipline. Think about the silence of that seed in the soil. It doesn't compare itself to the flower next to it. It doesn't rush to catch up with another plant. It grows at its own pace, in its own timing, according to its own design. If you can embrace that mindset, you will stop wasting time comparing your journey to someone else's. You will stop resenting the fact that others seem ahead of you. You will realize that your roots are forming in silence,
And when the right time comes, your breakthrough will happen in a way that no one can deny. Every oak tree was once a tiny acorn buried in silence. Every harvest of wheat began with seeds unseen in the soil. Every great destiny starts in hidden seasons where nobody claps, nobody notices, nobody praises. If you are in that season, embrace it. Stay silent like the seed. Trust the darkness, trust the process, trust the timing. Because just as surely as the seed rises when it's ready, you too will rise. Silence is not idleness, it is preparation. Too often people confuse being quiet with doing nothing, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Silence gives you the space to plan, to build, to sharpen yourself without interference. When you stay silent, you remove the distractions that come from constantly needing to explain yourself to others, and you create a private space where growth happens. In that silence, you can focus fully on your craft, your goals, your vision, without noise pulling you in 100 directions. Preparation in silence is where the champions are made, where leaders are built, where greatness begins. When you choose silence, you don't waste energy defending what you're working on. You channel that energy into the work itself. While others are talking about what they want to do, you're quietly doing it. While others are announcing every move on display for approval, you're quietly building something solid that doesn't need validation. This is the difference between people who only dream and people who actually achieve. Silence is the workshop where dreams are turned into reality, and preparation is the blueprint that makes it happen. Consider athletes in training. Before the lights, before the crowd, before the trophies, they spend countless hours in empty gyms, sweating in silence. They prepare when no one is watching, because they know that silence is where mastery is developed. The same principle applies to every field of life. A musician doesn't perform on stage without practicing in silence for hours. A speaker doesn't inspire a crowd without preparing their message in silence. A leader doesn't guide people effectively without learning in silence how to listen, how to strategize, how to see beyond the noise. Silence is not wasted time, it is invested time. Preparation in silence also protects you from unnecessary interference. When you share too much of your journey before it is ready, you open yourself up to opinions, doubts, and distractions that can weaken your focus. People may not understand your vision, and if you allow their voices to get inside your head, you may start questioning yourself before you've even begun. Silence shields you from that. It gives you the privacy to make mistakes, to learn quietly, to fail without judgment, and to rise again stronger. The world doesn't need to see every draft of your story. What they need to see is the finished product, the result of your preparation in silence. The beauty of silence is that it creates a sharp contrast when your moment finally arrives. When you prepare in silence, your breakthrough looks sudden to others, but you know the years of work that made it possible. What they call overnight success is really the product of long preparation done quietly. Silence kept you focused, preparation kept you ready, and together they positioned you for the opportunities that came. The people who underestimate silence never understand how powerful it is until they see someone rise who has been working quietly all along. Results speak with a voice that no argument can silence. You can talk about your dreams, you can explain your intentions, you can debate with doubters all day long, but at the end of it, words fade. What remains undeniable are the results that come from discipline, from patience, from consistent effort. When you let your work do the talking, you remove the need for explanations. Success has a way of silencing critics without you ever having to raise your voice. That is the beauty of choosing results over words. Your achievements become your testimony, your proof, your defense. People will always have opinions. Some will say you're not capable, some will say you're not ready, some will even laugh at your goals. If you spend your time trying to respond to every opinion, you'll never have the energy left to build something worth proving. But if you remain silent and keep working, the day will come when your results make those same people turn their doubts into respect. Words can be ignored,
but results demand attention. You don't need to argue when your actions show what you stand for. Think about every person who has ever made an impact. The inventors, the athletes, the leaders. They didn't convince the world with speeches about what they could do. They showed the world through results. An athlete doesn't need to brag if they set the record. An inventor doesn't need to argue if their creation changes lives. A leader doesn't need to shout if their vision produces change. Results remove the debate. They are the evidence that can't be denied, the truth that doesn't need defending. This is why silence is powerful. When you stop wasting energy on proving people wrong with words, you free up energy to prove them wrong with action. You don't need to announce your every move. You don't need to justify your journey. You don't need to ask for validation. Your results will validate you. Your results will tell the story that words never could. And when that moment comes, when the fruit of your labor finally shows, there will be nothing left for anyone to say. The greatest revenge against doubt is progress. The greatest response to criticism is consistency. The greatest answer to hate is achievement. Results are the universal language everyone understands. They cross boundaries, silence arguments, and demand recognition. A result doesn't ask for applause, but it earns it. A result doesn't beg for respect, but it commands it. That is why you must learn to stay silent and keep working. Every day you put in the effort, every day you stay consistent, every day you choose discipline over distraction, you are preparing a result that will speak on your behalf louder than anything you could ever say. Doubt and misjudgment are part of every journey. No matter what path you choose, there will always be people who question your ability, misunderstand your intentions, or misinterpret your silence. Some will see your quiet focus as weakness. Some will assume your patience is hesitation, and some will label your restraint as fear. But none of those opinions define who you are or where you are headed. The truth is, people can only judge from the level of their own understanding, and if they cannot see your vision, their judgment will always fall short. You don't need to defend yourself to them. Time and results will do that for you. It's tempting to fight back when someone doubts you. It's natural to want to explain yourself, to prove that you're serious, to make them see what you see. But every minute you spend defending yourself is a minute taken away from building yourself. The more you argue with doubters, the more power you give to their voices. Silence is not surrender in those moments, it's strategy. You're choosing to put your energy into progress instead of arguments, into growth instead of explanations. You're allowing your journey to reveal what your words never could. Think about how often people misjudge greatness before it arrives. Innovators have been called crazy, visionaries have been laughed at, dreamers have been dismissed. History is filled with stories of people who were misunderstood until the day their work proved them right. If they had spent all their time trying to convince others, they would have wasted the very energy that created their breakthroughs. Instead, they stayed focused. They allowed the world to doubt, and they kept moving. When their results finally came, the same people who misjudged them had no choice but to acknowledge the truth. That same principle applies to your life. Doubt is not your enemy. It is the fuel that can push you to keep going. Misjudgment is not your downfall. It is the reminder that not everyone deserves to understand your vision. Silence gives you the strength to rise above. When you don't respond to every doubt, you're showing that you know where you're going. When you don't chase after validation, you're proving that your value is not tied to someone else's opinion. Every step you take in silence is building a case that will speak louder than arguments ever could. The most powerful statement you can make to those who doubt you is success. The most powerful answer you can give to those who misjudge you is growth. So let people doubt, let them misjudge, let them think you're too quiet, too patient, too different. You don't need to explain yourself, because your life will explain it for you. Your silence will protect your focus. Your work will produce results, and your results will rewrite every judgment that was ever spoken against you. In the end, the voices of doubt will fade, but the evidence of your discipline will remain, and that is what will speak the loudest. Discipline in silence is one of the hardest skills to develop. but it is also one of the most rewarding. It takes strength to bite your tongue when you want to answer back. It takes patience to wait when you want to move fast. And it takes wisdom to remain still when everything in you wants to react. Discipline is not simply about controlling your actions. It's about controlling your impulses. Silence becomes a test of that discipline. It asks you to hold your peace when your pride wants to speak, to stay calm when chaos surrounds you, and to remain steady when emotions try to take the lead. In those moments, silence is no longer just the absence of words. It is the presence of self-control. Wisdom grows in that kind of silence. When you're not rushing to answer, you're listening. When you're not busy proving yourself, you're observing. When you're not distracted by the noise, you're learning. Many people miss wisdom because they're too quick to react, too eager to be heard, too restless to wait. But wisdom often comes in the pause, in the stillness, in the silence. When you discipline yourself to be silent, you create room for understanding that you would never gain if you were always speaking. That's how silence and wisdom connect. One is the ground, the other is the fruit. Discipline in silence also strengthens your character. Anybody can look strong when everything is easy, but real strength is tested when things are difficult. It is in arguments you choose not to have, in insults you choose not to return, in doubts you choose not to answer, that your character is revealed. Silence is not cowardice, it is maturity. It shows that you value peace more than ego, growth more than pride, and purpose more than pointless battles. The more disciplined you are with your silence, the more secure you become within yourself. And security is where wisdom lives. There is also a deeper kind of discipline in silence that has to do with timing. Sometimes silence means holding back even when you are right, because you understand that not every truth has to be spoken immediately. It's knowing that just because you can say something doesn't mean you should. Wisdom teaches you that some things will reveal themselves without your help, and some answers will come without your words. By waiting, by staying silent, you let time do what words cannot. That is discipline at the highest level. Trusting that everything will show itself in due time without you needing to rush it. Those who lack discipline in silence often find themselves trapped in unnecessary conflict. They let their mouths speak before their minds think, and in doing so, they create problems that could have been avoided. But those who master silence walk with a calmness that cannot be shaken easily. They see more, they hear more, they understand more, and in that understanding, they find wisdom. Discipline is the bridge, silence is the tool, and wisdom is the reward. Chasing recognition is one of the fastest ways to lose yourself. The moment you start living for applause, for likes, for approval, you put your power in the hands of others. Recognition is sweet, but it's also unstable. One day people love you, the next day they turn against you. If your sense of worth depends on their claps, you will always be a prisoner to their opinions. That is why you must not chase recognition, because when you do, you move away from your purpose and start living for performance. Silence teaches you to break free from that trap. It reminds you that the work you are doing has value even when no one is watching, even when no one is clapping, even when no one is praising. When you stop chasing recognition, you discover a different kind of freedom. You no longer feel the pressure to prove something to the world every moment. You no longer need to display every move to feel important. Instead, you learn the joy of working quietly, of keeping some things sacred, of knowing that your growth is real even if it goes unnoticed. That kind of freedom allows you to move with authenticity, because you're no longer controlled by how others see you. Recognition may come, but it is no longer the reason you work. It becomes a byproduct, not the goal. The truth is, recognition is always temporary. People will cheer for you as long as you fit their expectations. But the moment you challenge them or disappoint them, the same crowd can turn into critics. If your identity is tied to that recognition, you will be crushed every time it fades. But if your identity is rooted in your purpose, in your discipline, in your silence, then recognition becomes irrelevant. You know who you are, you know what you're building, and you don't need external validation to confirm it.
That kind of stability is powerful because it allows you to keep moving forward no matter who is clapping or who is silent. History remembers those who worked with vision, not those who begged for recognition. The inventors, the thinkers, the leaders who shaped the world didn't do it for applause. They did it because they believed in something greater than themselves. Many of them worked in silence, without any recognition during their lifetime. And yet their impact continues long after the applause would have ended. That is the lesson. Recognition is temporary, but legacy is permanent. When you stop chasing recognition and start chasing purpose, you build something that lasts. Silence guards you from the distraction of recognition. It keeps you grounded, it keeps you focused, and it keeps you aligned with what truly matters. Recognition will come when the time is right, when your results demand it, when your work speaks for itself. But even if it doesn't come, your value remains. Your worth is not determined by how loud the applause is, but by how strong your impact is. The world may notice you late, or maybe not at all, but silence teaches you that the real reward is not in being seen. It's in becoming who you are meant to be. Trusting the process means letting go of the need to control everything and allowing life to unfold the way it is meant to. So many people spend their days fighting against timing, trying to force doors open that aren't ready, trying to pull people closer who were never meant to stay, trying to speed up seasons that are supposed to take time. That constant struggle drains the spirit, leaving frustration and disappointment. When you learn to trust the process, you shift your focus from forcing outcomes to preparing yourself for them. You begin to understand that every delay, every setback, every obstacle has a purpose in shaping you into the person who can handle the blessings that are on the way. Trust is not easy because it requires faith in what you cannot see. It means believing that even when things feel slow, something is happening behind the scenes. It means accepting that rejection may actually be protection, and closed doors may be redirection. When you trust the process, silence becomes easier, because you stop feeling the need to explain why things aren't happening yet. You understand that silence is not emptiness, it's the space where the unseen work of preparation is taking place. Just like nature moves with seasons, your life moves in cycles, and trusting the process means accepting each season for what it is instead of resisting it. Think about how a caterpillar becomes a butterfly. The transformation doesn't happen in public, it doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen on demand. The caterpillar enters the cocoon, hidden, silent, seemingly inactive. But inside, a powerful transformation is unfolding. If the process were rushed, the butterfly would never develop the strength to fly. The struggle in the cocoon is what prepares its wings. That's how life works. The silence, the waiting, the struggles. They are all part of your cocoon. They may feel uncomfortable, they may feel endless, but they are preparing you for flight. Trusting the process also means letting go of comparison. Everyone has a different path, a different timeline, a different purpose. When you compare your journey to someone else's, you lose sight of your own process. Just because someone else seems further ahead doesn't mean you are behind. It only means their season is different from yours. Trust reminds you that what is meant for you cannot be taken from you, and what is not meant for you will never stay. That knowledge brings peace in silence, because you no longer need to fight for things that were never yours. In the end, trusting the process builds resilience. It teaches you patience, humility, and perseverance. It molds your character so that when your moment arrives, you are ready to carry it. Without trust, silence feels unbearable, but with trust, silence becomes sacred. You stop chasing after what isn't yours, and you start aligning yourself with what is. You realize that life has perfect timing, and when the moment comes, everything you've been waiting for will fall into place in a way that feels natural, undeniable, and unstoppable.